There's nothing like looking at family pictures.
Hello and welcome to the Recap Review. Today we're looking over set number 8918, Carapar. The set contains approximately 50 pieces, was released in early winter of 2007, and at time of release was about $10. So here we have it, the crab, as he was occasionally known. The motif is fairly obvious, a crab. Did the claw give it away? So we've moved on to this Barakian. Wow. This is certainly a change of pace, that's for sure. So I'm going to preface things before I get into the pros and the cons by saying that any pro or con here, just because it's here does not necessarily mean I agree with it or it is my opinion, unless I say specifically otherwise. So if it's here, you can ask, but don't assume that it is my opinion, unless I say. Normally these are things that I've either observed personally, or have seen over the various years since this set was released. So, with that out of the way, let's jump right into the pros. Right off the bat, we have a bunch of new molds, and that is certainly a pro. We have his new chest piece, the head mold, the pincers, his Squid Launcher, the new claw piece, with two of those, and this new armor piece, which is being used in two different ways, via the two different connection points on his knees and on his upper arms. Another pro would be the color scheme, which is certainly very interesting considering it's quite new. Now granted, we've seen gray before. The gray is not new, and neither is the Keat orange. But this new almost dead seaweed color, this is certainly new. It's very interesting. It's kind of melded with a bit of gray, almost a light blackish color. I don't really know how to put it, but it's kind of unique. So it's really interesting to see this new color scheme being used on this set, because we don't really see it anywhere else. So he's very unique in that regard. So that's definitely a pro. Another pro would be his articulation, which is fairly standard. He's got the 3 in the legs, 3 in the arms, and 1 in the head. However, if you count this claw, that could be counted as 4 in 1 arm. So that's certainly something. Another pro would be his recolors, which he has a few of. By a few, I really only mean 1, and those are his feet. I believe those are new recolors, these Rakshi feet in gray. If they aren't, well, I'm surprised. Actually, I also think that these are recolors as well. I don't think we've gotten the Vaki legs in gray yet. But if we did, whoopsie-daisy. If not, then great. Those are definitely new recolors if we hadn't gotten them before. And that's nice to see. Actually, also I think these arms too, all in gray. If you like gray, I hope you like gray. If not, you're not going to like 08. So another pro would be his motif. Now the motif is supposed to be a crab, and for the most part that's gotten across really well. The kind of rocky exterior with this molding, smooth in some places, but kind of has these wisps on the end here, these almost antenna things, which aren't really antenna, but they're really cool to see. It really works for the underwater rocky kind of crab look. And this claw piece is really, really cool. Overall, the look, it looks very bruiser-ish, very bulky and great. And the story, Carapar, is supposed to be incredibly strong. One of the Braki, one of the warlords, the leaders of the League of Six Kingdoms. And at one point, he was actually very clever, he's very smart. Fortunately, after too many hypnotic trances Takadox put him in, he became a little bit slower in his thought process, which is a bit of a shame for the character. But back to this set. So overall, we have a very solid set. New molds that look great, a new exciting color scheme. Not exciting visually, but exciting that it's a new color scheme. And a lot of really great molds, and a fairly standard build, stable build. And new recolors, which is always welcome. The other pros actually amount to being 3. And all a singular pro, but 3 individual things, and those are his functions. Right off the bat, we have the claw piece, which it can divide, but it does this whole pinching action here. That's a pro. We also have his pincers up here, and this is a new mold that's standard for all the Baraki. And you push them together, and they go clink, clink, clink. So that's nice. And finally, we have the Squid Launcher, the Baraki standard launcher for early 2007. This is made entirely out of rubber. And the way this works, you take the squid, of which are located on his left arm. You attach them via their eyes, going out, horizontally. Put your finger through there, kind of like a trigger. Pull back on the squid, and let go. Oh dear. Do it quicker for better results, because it gives it more tension in a much quicker amount of time. I don't really know how it works, it just works better if you do it quicker. Also, the more you pull back, the more tension it is given. So, it does work occasionally, and it is an interesting function. Launchers normally are. So, that's pretty much all the pros. The build is fairly simple, but the new molds, the new colors are certainly interesting, and the new recolors are always welcome. So, right off the bat, it's a very cool looking set. However, what about the cons? What makes this set a little bit less worth going back and getting? Well, let's find out. Right off the bat, the color is really weird. Not everyone's gonna like it. That's kind of a shame. It is a really weird muted brown. It's like they wanted to bring the brown sets back after Huki and Nika, but they thought, let's only stop halfway. Now, while the color scheme is interesting, it melds very nicely, it is a little unusual. The gray definitely gives a set a very bland look, and to everyone, this color is not going to be very appeasing. It does, to some, look kind of ugly. It also has these weird tinges of green, which normally would look great for the underwater look, but he doesn't have a whole lot of green on him. Another con, to very many people, would be his standardized build. Because this is the Anika version of the Anika Paraka build, it is, to a lot of people, a very simplistic build. You have this piece, and then blat, the armor. So, not a lot of people like that, and can be easily considered a con. Along with the open axles there, and on his weapon. On the weapon, it's a little harder to see. A con can be considered to be this little blue peg right here, considering he doesn't have any blue on him, so it stands out. Another con, actually along the lines of his torso, would be his torso piece being black on a set that doesn't contain any other black pieces aside from these little Exoforce arms up here. It's actually kind of unusual because they could have done that in either silver or maybe make a new recolor and make it in this dark gray. So it's really unusual to see that as just this big black piece here. Also on the torso, because of the new armor piece, he's very gappy right in here. There's just a huge amount of space that's left really open in his chest area. And it's very disconcerting, it's very unusual. Now his head does cover it up for the most part, but you can see it kind of in the back. It is very gappy and it's very odd looking. Another con would be his pincer, considering at a lot, through rigorous use, or vigorous? I don't know. Through vinegar use, it will become very loose, which is very unfortunate because it does work. It does have a very nice look to it. Another con would be the gray. Considering he has all this gray, it does look very bland and very uninteresting. Now, the key orange does try and save that, along with this new color, but it is a lot of gray. Another con a lot of people would probably agree with would be his pincers and his claw, being that they are silver. And there's not a lot of silver on this guy. Now, the silver doesn't stand out so much since the gray is very, there's a lot of gray here, but to a lot of people, it does stand out a little bit, especially since these are supposed to be natural claws. Another con would be his armor placement, considering it doesn't really flow and it has this awkward triangle shape. And finally, his other function, the Squid Launcher. Specifically, just its entirety. It's an awkward shape, it's made of this really weird rubber, so it's very difficult to use. Not to mention firing the squid, oftentimes it'll either get caught, or it won't go very far, or it'll just bounce around, and it's a very inaccurate launcher. It doesn't do what it's supposed to do, or at least when it does do it, it doesn't do it very well. Not a lot of people like it, and I can't say I disagree with them. Very difficult to use, very haphazard, not a lot of uses, and it's just very prone to breaking over time, which is very unfortunate. So, in retrospect, Carapar is definitely interesting. He's a very interesting experiment. A lot of people are going to, for the cons, a lot of people are going to agree that he is very awkward in a lot of different places. Specifically, the black torso piece, the gaps, and the new color is definitely interesting, but unfortunate that we never got to see it more or have more pieces added to it. The gray is certainly bland, but on the pro side of things, he's a very unique set. He definitely gets the whole crab appearance down. The new color looks really interesting. It reminds you of a crab. It looks like this set belongs underwater. And the green tinges look like either seaweed or moss or something underwater that's grown on his armor. So that's really cool. The Squid Launcher does not work very well at all. It's actually a really terrible launcher. However, when it does work, it will work. The new pieces and new recolors are definitely welcome, and overall, the set does hold up well on his own, and he looks great alongside sets such as Takadox or Eljay even. So, if you had to go back and get him, I would say do so. He's definitely a unique looking set, even if his build isn't the most creative. So thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this review. If you feel there's anything I missed, messed up on, or should have mentioned, please let me know either in the comments below or on the TTV message boards. Join me next week when I go over the Stingray, aka Mantax. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you then.